What's up, everybody? I'm Tori Ann,
And I'm Leon Timbo.
And I'm Mr. Jerome.
and we are Beauty and the Beards. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
So, guys, what about how our culture doesn't respond to doctors? How about how we don't go to the doctor? I know as a woman, it's a little different because we kind of have to go. For the most part, women go to the doctor. We have babies. We need that to be monitored. We have cycles. Sometimes they're not normal. There's irregular things going on that we have to see a doctor for. Yeah. But once you come into your adulthood as men, there's a stigma attached to you guys that you don't go to the doctor. What's up with that? Do you guys go to the doctor?
Not as much as I should.
I go whenever I can afford it.
Well, when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, they were like, "You hurt yourself?" "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't. You're a man. Get up." You know that
suck it up, buttercup.
Suck it up. You ain't hurt for real. You have
put some tussin on it.
Put some tussin. Exactly. And so I think the culture kind of created a rhythm in me that if I can still function after it, then it didn't really happen. Like it didn't happen. I'm hurt, but I'm still good. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the older generation, like I wasn't a part of it. I can only guess it was either fear, that kept our dads and our granddads from not going when we all knew they needed to go. Like we woke up and found you unconscious. You may go see a doctor.
How many?
No, I'm okay. I just had a little spell. I'm all right.
No, you actually fainted for a long time.
Well, I was reading a study. I want to say it was the University of Michigan that was done a few years ago, and they were saying a lot of black men don't go to the doctor because they don't trust the doctor, and they don't like how they're treated at doctors' offices and things like that. Like they don't like the tone that physicians have with them. Have you guys had any experiences like that? Like when you go to the doctor and you kind of feel like you're not respected in a way?
Honestly, a lot of what I may have dealt with regarding doctors and stigmas was probably more so in my head and built from home base than actually having bad experiences with the doctors. There was one instance that was a little abnormal for me. I was a teenager and some things had happened through some bad decisions, and my doctor was an older black man. No, I was an older, my doctor was an older black man. So he didn't take the most professional approach because he felt like he could identify and impart some wisdom. And so he kind of went over a couple of, I'm pretty sure he broke some laws. Because his advice became, like it veered completely away from the medical and into, as a black man, you can't be, because, they trying to kill us. They want us dead. Like he really took the opportunity to play Uncle Stranger. And I sat there and listened because I knew he meant well. And at the end of the day, because we are a culture of shame, people don't understand how important it is to be honest with your doctor about what you do and what you have to, because they can't give you a fair assessment of what's going on with you.
Right.
But because we're so ashamed, when they ask you those invasive sexual questions, I'm sure there are a lot of us who weren't completely forthright with our actual doctors who needed the truth to make us better.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Yeah.
I'm at the age now where they do all kinds of exams. And I was in for one of said exams, and it was all women. And I was like, what church y'all go to? Because this ain't supposed to happen.
And why is there a chance that I'm going to be leading worship in front of you Sunday?
The women catch the
I made
women.
him turn his head and cough.
So it was weird. My statement was, we're all friends now,
No, y'all owe me flowers.
I never
We
had
go
that
together.
stigma. What'd you say?
We go together now.
We go. I think I said something like that.
I'm saying it out loud. We are
We're
together now.
You know too much about me.
We are married.
But I never had that stigma, not trusting the doctors. I mean, no more than I don't trust anybody. So you just somebody I don't trust as well. In terms of giving all of my information, I think as of late I've become more clear about that. But growing up in church, the whole "it wasn't me," no, this ain't my baby. I was about to say something like, I was about to say, oh no,
This is
I
a
didn't
sign.
get pregnant by real means. No. I got pregnant by other means. I just went off into that
Mercy,
tangent, and I wasn't supposed to, but I did. I'm grown.
And you
It's
know what's so
fine.
crazy? We have so many
Here we
examples.
go.
We have so many. So being in church, we're forced into these pockets of lies for
Hot pockets
these hot pockets of
of
lies
falsehoods.
when the truth in that moment is our saving grace. Like, you don't want to tell the doctor a lie and then hope they're prophetic enough to know that
Or hope that whatever it really is can be cured by whatever you pretending it is.
Yeah. Like, I hope this
I'm gonna say
antibiotic work for more than one thing.
I'm gonna say it's strep throat, and just hope that whatever they give me handles whatever happened for
I
real.
just hope. Huh? So
Well,
this is what
back
we
when
do.
we grew up, there was no such thing as the HIPAA.
In terms of privacy.
In terms of privacy, no, that wasn't a thing until later on in life. Like, not when we were young, that wasn't a thing. I don't know, Jordan. Can you tell us when HIPAA came out? It wasn't a thing when we were.
Yeah, it
coming
wasn't
up.
always there.
Okay, commercial. I never realized that in the 50s and 60s that marriage license weren't necessarily pieces of paper. Common law marriage is much more common. Just a
Yeah.
commercial. We'll talk about that later.
My mother used
But
to be
there was a whole
shady
bunch
about
of
common
stuff.
law marriages, honey. I used to hear her on the phone. She used to be like, "Girl, they common law." I used to be like,
Which really was
96.
just saying they shacking up.
1996, the HIPAA.
96, yeah. So, right. So I started working in the medical field around 99, 2000. It was 2001. I'm dating myself. 2001. And I remember that being
You say
like
you've
a
been
thing.
in medicine for how many years?
Well, I have not been in medicine now for the past
Few years.
8 years and 9 years. How old is Katie? Okay, so
Oh, I'm about to do a lot of line on this.
I
show.
am.
Lot of line on the show.
I'm about to listen,
spent
line
quite
my
a
whole
bit
ass
of
out.
time being an assistant to a physician, and so it's
So everybody knew everybody's business.
yeah.
And
So
would
back
tell.
then there was no secrets, there were no laws to protect your business.
Privacy.
So I think that kind of leans into the space of not going to the doctor because you didn't want anybody up in your business. And not even like from a place of
Gossip
I might
or
have
pettiness.
been around by Mary's house. It just was. No, I don't want nobody in my business because that's how we used to move back then. We have social media now, so we put everything out. I'm kind of guilty. I'm like an oversharer. I'm considered an oversharer. But back then, the house I came from, probably why I share so much now, everything was a secret.
Oh,
You
yeah.
couldn't talk about a single thing. So going to the doctor had to be tough on certain people, because it's like kind of telling your business.
AIDS is cancer. People in
Oh
my
yeah,
community
I know
have
a lot of
passed
people
away.
that died from alleged cancer.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of because you would see people with her. They would say nothing. You would say nothing. I mean, dear friends of mine just never knew how they went away. I remember there was one person that my dad, when he was living, bless his heart, he was talking to me, and they weren't doing well, and he just kind of threw out that this was the issue, but he just kind of said it, and I was so shocked because I knew nothing about it, and I was like, okay, I forgot he was their pastor, and he was kind of not doing well himself, and so when he said it, that made me realize how often we kept those kinds of things. Like AIDS, HIV. The reality is, I just want to put this out there. The reality is people are living with this stuff. I'm not saying it's whatever, but people are living with it, and so get over yourself.
And
You know, it's
medicine
what
has
it
really
is. Living full lives.
progressed. Medicine has really progressed in that way, which I'm so thankful for.
Yeah.
And people are able to have
Live fairly normal lives.
fairly normal life, and that's such a blessing. I just thank God for that medicine has progressed in that time, and that there have been people out here working tirelessly to give people that chance to have a normal life, because that's just like back then it was like the Scarlet Letter, like if you lost weight too quickly or whatever the case,
Or there was a
like,
lesion anywhere, your
Yeah.
community would just kind
Yeah.
of corporately make peace with
We
having
didn't.
to
I mean,
live
I
without
remember
you
when
at some
people were
point.
afraid to
So
hug
true.
someone.
Doctors
or,
refused to treat or to examine because they didn't know how it was passed. It was
And
aggressive.
this stuff was even more so in our communities, being Black Americans, because our doctors were getting paid regardless for most of our cases, because how many of us had legitimate insurance going? And that was kind of that's what parents and relatives didn't want to tell you. You weren't going to the doctor because we couldn't send you to the doctor.
Yeah.
Government hadn't caught up with, some of these standards we have now. And so because of that, it's like,
Well, that's a good point. I think just to put a button on a lot of this, a lot of why people don't go to the doctor now, men, women, children, is because of the lack of medical insurance that's provided or that is available to us in America. And of course, it's a national conversation now.
Yeah.
And, it really makes me upset, because there's a lot of people who don't feel that that everyone deserves a right to go to the doctor unless you can check off every box financially and everything, and that's so inhumane. And
playing field isn't
like
level.
it's just I know when I stopped working in the medical field, and I remember when I was working in the medical field, I was paying so much money as a person who worked for the hospital for my family. I was paying so much money per month just for my family to be able to go to the doctor and the dentist. And so when I stopped working, and I had the stigma of, I had my son when I was 17 years old. When I had him, I had already given myself the task to never be on welfare. So I struggled more than I should have, because I had this chip on my shoulder to not go. So when I stopped working for the hospital, I didn't go and get that insurance or try to qualify for that insurance for my children. So I took a huge gamble, especially, with having small kids. If somebody falls and hurt themselves, that's on me. I remember when we were at church and Cadence ran through a door that she didn't clear. She ran smack down into the wall, and she knocked her tooth back into her mouth, like into the roof of her mouth. I didn't have any insurance. And the first thing I thought about was, oh my God, this tooth did not come out. It's lodged in the
Stuck in
roof
there.
of her mouth. She has to go to the dentist. And I just remember praying like, Lord, just let them give me an opportunity to pay.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get her seen and all that stuff, and they were able to extract the tooth. And I had a huge bill, but I paid like half up front. That wasn't in my budget. But all the lengths that I would go just because I didn't want to go and try to get insurance. And that was years ago. She's 10 now. She was little, like maybe 3. And now it's even harder to come by medical insurance.
Absolutely.
And so,
That's that you can actually afford.
Jordan
Actually
Jordan
afford.
gives some crazy facts. 55% of African Americans have private health insurance, as opposed to 75.4% of non-Hispanic whites who have private health insurance, as cited from the Minority Health Government website. And it's just the truth of how the playing field isn't level. So we have to completely address health. What are we trying to say? Go to the doctor. What are we trying to say? Be honest about where you are. We have to learn to love each other in every condition possible. And that's why we're here, to talk about the hard things. I'm Leon Timbo, And this is Tori Ann and Mr. Jerome. And that's our show.